Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. This week I'm gonna share some tips, tricks, and hacks, if you wanna call it that, for your film photography. These are little things that have made my life a lot easier. There are things related to film itself, to cameras in general, different pieces of gear, just fun things that I've been enjoying and that I think you might enjoy too. This list probably isn't going to be life-changing, but I think there might be something on here that you might enjoy or use in your own photography applications. For lack of better words, I guess I'm calling these hacks. They're just fun tricks that I've learned over the years and I want to share with you today. Okay, so this first situation is one that I think probably a lot of people have run into. You go into your stash of film to grab a roll of Portra 400 and you realize that that sneaky roll has had the film leader retract into the actual can. And now you can't load your film because there is no film leader. I'm gonna show you how to fix that, and all you need is another roll of film. Basically, you wanna put a little bit of water on the bottom of the film base of the roll that still has the leader out. You then insert that into the other canister and rotate it until you feel them make contact and kind of get a grip on each other. And then you can simply pull out the other piece of film and you'll have two rolls that are ready to load. Okay, so this next trick is pretty much based off of the last one, but let's say you've loaded your roll of film into your point and shoot camera. So you've been shooting pictures out all day, you're halfway through the roll, and then you accidentally hit that rewind switch on the camera. Now the question is whether you put in a fresh roll of film and just start over, or you develop the one that's half filled up with pictures. What you can do is basically take out the roll, use the trick that I just showed you to retrieve that film lever. Some cameras like this point and shoot are smart enough to basically leave just a little bit of that tab exposed. You can pull the film out. Now what you can do is basically take your camera, you can cover just the lens of it with the sleeve of your hoodie or whatever it might be, and fire off frames until your camera's film readout is showing the frame that you were on last. When you're covering the lens of your camera, there's basically nothing projecting onto the film, so it's just a way of rewinding to the frame that you were on last. That means you can save some film and finish that roll. There are a ton of really cool old books about color film photography, black and white photography that go into so much more detail than I ever could on this channel. Although this kind of information isn't available online, these old books are readily available all day for under $5 on websites like Amazon, eBay. I recommend this one, Color Photography, a Working Manual. This goes so in depth about exposure, color, and everything related to the process of film. For example, something like this exposure latitude test on slide film that you can see in here goes so in depth about how the film reacts to light. This one even goes in depth on color darkroom printing, so if that's something you're interested in, this one is a great pickup. And if you're kind of geeky about all this stuff like myself, or you really just want to get the best results possible, I definitely would recommend checking out a guide like this. This next one's pretty simple, but if you are somebody who buys filters, for example, like this Pro Mist filter or this ND filter that's on this camera, what I end up doing is buying the filter size that fits the largest diameter lens that I have, and then I end up buying a set of these adapter rings. These essentially just adapt those filters down to smaller threads, which means you only have to buy one of each type of filter. If you are somebody who travels a lot with your camera gear, I can't recommend one of these Pelican cases enough. This is by far the best way that I've found to travel with a ton of camera gear. This is super safe and it takes a lot of stress off my mind when I'm traveling with my gear, knowing that it's gonna get there safe and nothing's gonna break in just the transport. One of my favorite things about these is the fact that they're so customizable with whatever insert for it that you might wanna pick up. So I have the foam. I'll show you quickly how I lay mine out with my RZ67 setup. Here's pretty much what the case looks like. So this thing is super tough and it's water sealed all around. It has a nice rubber seal. You can kind of tell it has nice foam inserts that are removable. First thing that goes in right here is the RZ67. I just dropped that right in here. Obviously this eye level prism is quite a fragile piece because of how much glass is in there, so that goes right here. Usually I'll keep a second lens right here, although I don't have that on me, so for now I'll drop a point and shoot in there. And then in this section, I'll generally keep a bunch of accessories like a Polaroid back, which is in here. Something like this Nikon flash will usually go there as well. And I even have room in here for a couple packs of Portra. This next trick is literally written on the boxes that your film come in, but I was surprised how many people didn't know about this when I posted it on my Instagram story, and that is to keep your film in the fridge. Not only does keeping your film in the fridge make sure that the chemicals stay fresh, but it also makes sure that even past the expiration date that's written on the box, you're gonna get the best results possible with the film stocks. There's definitely a huge difference in expired films that I've tried where you can really tell that some have been stored well and others haven't been because they look like trash, and the ones that have been stored well still get really nice usable results. So if you've got some space in there, why not put your film in? I think this is probably the only time on this channel that I'll give you a tour of my fridge, but so right here is where I keep all the fresh medium and large format films like Portra 400. Let's see, we've got some Cine Still 50D that I've been wanting to shoot, and some XP2 and HP5 down there as well. This is arguably a little bit more exciting. This is the expired film drawer. There is just a ton of goods sitting in here waiting to have videos made about them. I've got a couple boxes of Velvia slide film, a couple boxes of Perovia slide film. This stuff is all expired. It's basically been sent in by people who watch the channel, so I'm incredibly grateful for that. This next one might seem a little obvious, but it was not something that I was aware of when I started out shooting photos. I ended up buying this little Contax TLA 140 flash, which is a small flash that works really nice with film cameras, and the advantage of this thing is the fact that it's really compact, but that's really about it. These things tend to go for a lot of money, they're not very powerful, and you really don't have any control over the light, which is why I picked up one of these. This is a Nikon speed light. I feel like you can probably pick up about 10 of these for the price of that little Contax flash, and this thing is gonna give you so much more control when it comes to what you want to do with the flash. For example, this thing is fully articulating, so it swivels side to side, up and down. You can bounce this off of the ceiling or off of a wall, whatever you want. So this Nikon flash definitely does everything this Contax flash does, including a lot more, and it's about 1/10 of the price. There's so many creative lighting choices that you can do with one of these. I ended up shooting with this thing a ton on my recent trip to the Arctic. I'm basically working on putting together a zine of those images at this point, but I use this thing as a front flash out there. And I also use this thing to photograph the snow, which is really hard to do at nighttime because you need a long shutter speed, but you can pop a manual flash like this one a couple times during the exposure, and it's gonna freeze that snow in the frame, just like this image from over there. I'll talk more about that zine later if you are curious. But what's interesting also with these flashes is that, dude, come on. What's interesting about these flashes is that they work on pretty much any camera as long as you're okay with using them manually, which is what you're doing with something like that Contax one anyway. So I use this thing between my RZ67 and even little cameras like this Canon A1. I feel like investing in a good light meter was one of the smartest things I did when I started out taking film photos, because it's the one piece of equipment that has lasted and that I've kept throughout every single camera that I've owned. These things are super durable, so you really won't be breaking these anytime soon. And regardless of what cameras you end up upgrading to or switching between, the light meter is the one thing that stayed consistent for me throughout them all. I use this Sekonic L308X, and it's proven to work really well regardless of the camera I'm using, so that really was a solid investment. Those were pretty much all of my little film photography tricks, tips, hacks, whatever you want to call it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you're staying safe out there inside your homes. I'm trying my best here to upload weekly, which has proven pretty difficult to just film things inside, but so far so good. Thank you so much for watching, and finally I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is an incredible online website building platform that you can use to build your photography portfolio online. I've been using Squarespace for over 3 years at this point, and their incredibly customizable templates have made it so easy to get a unique looking portfolio up and running on the internet. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can hit the link in my description for a 14-day free trial of Squarespace. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/willem for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you, Squarespace. Thank you to you for watching. You can check out my Instagram in the description. That's it for now. Peace.